Listening to the cries of the world, ancient wisdom for healing our inherited wounds. There's a reason you keep falling into the same emotional traps. And it's not what you think. Tonight, I'm going to share a discovery made by a Vietnamese monk during one of the most brutal wars in history. A discovery that completely changed how we understand why we get stuck in cycles of anger, anxiety, and pain. This isn't another self-help theory or positive thinking technique. This is ancient wisdom, tested by people who faced unimaginable suffering and found a way through that doesn't involve fighting yourself or forcing change. By the time we finish this journey together, you'll understand exactly why trying to push away difficult emotions actually makes them stronger. And you'll know the precise method that dissolves them instead. Welcome. We are a space for discovering that freedom isn't about becoming someone different. It's about recognizing the peace that's been waiting inside you all along. Right now, as you're listening to this, something remarkable is happening around the world. Someone in Tokyo is finding comfort in these same words as their day begins. Another person in London is letting their shoulders relax as evening falls. Maybe you're in New York, curled up before sleep, or in Sydney, taking a peaceful walk. If it feels right, share where you're listening from. Not because you have to, but because there's something beautiful about knowing we're all seeking the same peace. Just in different time zones. You might want to get comfortable. Maybe wrap yourself in something soft. Dim the lights, or simply let your body settle wherever you are. Because what you're about to discover will change how you relate to every difficult moment for the rest of your life. Listening to the voice of the heart. Here's what I know about you. Even though we've never met, you've tried to control your reactions. And sometimes succeeded, but the patterns keep coming back. You've probably told yourself to just stay positive, or let it go. But found that the more you fight certain feelings, the more persistent they become. You might even feel frustrated with yourself for not being able to simply choose peace. But here's the truth that changes everything. Those patterns aren't a sign that you're failing. They're actually doorways to freedom, if you know how to approach them. During the Vietnam War, when brothers were forced to kill brothers with foreign weapons and imported ideologies, a young monk named Thich Nhat Hanh discovered something that saved his sanity and eventually transformed millions of lives. While bombs fell around him and his country tore itself apart, he found that the enemy wasn't outside. It was the habit of fighting against reality itself. He learned this from studying a bodhisattva called Avalokiteshvara, which means, the one who listens to the cries of the world. But this wasn't just an ancient figure from Buddhist stories. It was a capacity that lived inside every human being. The ability to be present with suffering without adding to it. To listen without trying to fix. To offer the kind of attention that actually heals. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not waiting for their turn to speak. Not trying to solve your problems, but really hearing you. How did that feel in your body? What happened to your breathing? Your tension? Your sense of being alone? That same quality of listening, that same presence, is what transforms the difficult emotions inside us. But here's the part that will surprise you. It's not about getting rid of anger or anxiety or sadness. It's about changing your relationship with them so completely that they lose their power to control your life. Tonight, you'll discover why the Buddha said that fighting our emotions is like trying to stop a river with our bare hands. You'll learn the practice that's like becoming the riverbank instead, solid, present, and unshaken by whatever flows through. You'll hear the story of a young boy who broke a pattern of inherited anger that had passed down through generations. And how that single breakthrough healed not just his future but somehow reached back to heal his ancestors too. Most importantly, you'll experience what Thich Nhat Hanh called arriving home. That place of peace that doesn't depend on your circumstances being perfect or your emotions being pleasant. It's the home that can't be taken away by difficult people, challenging situations, or even your own mental storms. This isn't about becoming a monk or learning complicated meditation techniques. These are simple practices that work while you're stuck in traffic, dealing with difficult family members, or lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're as practical as they are profound, as gentle as they are powerful. So settle in, let your breathing slow, and prepare to discover why the path to freedom begins not with fighting your patterns, but with learning to listen to them with the same compassion you'd offer a frightened child. The seeds in the garden of your mind. Now, let me tell you about the most powerful healing force in the world. One that requires no special training, costs nothing, And yet most of us have forgotten how to use it. It's the art of truly listening, not just to the words someone speaks, but to the pain beneath the words, the hope hiding behind the anger, the love that's trying to express itself through frustration. Avalokiteshvara, the one who listens to the cries of the world. In Vietnamese, this compassionate presence is called Quan the Am. But regardless of the language or culture, the essence remains the same, the recognition that deep, compassionate listening has the power to heal wounds that nothing else can touch. This isn't about having supernatural abilities. It's the understanding that when we offer another person our complete, non-judgmental presence, we create a sacred space where transformation naturally begins. According to Buddhist teaching, every single one of us carries the seed of this compassionate listening within. It's like having a hidden room in your house that you've never discovered, filled with exactly what you need to help both yourself and others find peace. The question isn't whether you have this capacity. You do. The question is whether you'll learn to water this seed through practice, allowing it to grow strong enough to manifest when it's needed most. Think of your consciousness as a garden where many different seeds are planted. There's a seed of anger there. Yes, planted perhaps by years of frustration. But there's also a seed of patience, strengthened every time you chose to stay calm. There's a seed of fear, watered by experiences of loss. But equally present is a seed of courage, growing stronger each time you faced something difficult. Which seeds flourish and shape your responses depends entirely on which ones receive your attention and energy through daily choices. Every time someone speaks to you with irritation and you automatically respond with more irritation, you're watering the seed of anger in both of you. But every time someone shares their pain and you respond with presence and understanding, you're nourishing the seeds of compassion and wisdom. This isn't just beautiful philosophy. It's describing how your brain actually rewires itself based on the patterns you repeatedly choose. Breaking the inherited chains. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this truth. One that took place at a peaceful monastery in the French countryside. Every summer, a young boy would visit with his younger sister. But this boy carried a heavy burden, a troubled relationship with his father. The pattern was always the same and heartbreakingly familiar. Whenever the boy would fall down and hurt himself, instead of receiving comfort, his father would immediately shout at him, "How could you be so careless?" Year after year, the boy made a solemn promise: when he grew up, he would never be like his father. One summer day at the monastery, his sister and another little girl were playing on a hammock. Then, the other girl fell hard, and blood began to flow from her injury. What happened next changed the boy's understanding of himself forever. As he saw the injured girl, instead of rushing to help with compassion, he felt a sudden surge of anger. The words that wanted to burst from his mouth were shockingly familiar. "Stupid. How could you do something like that?" In that moment of crisis, all his good intentions evaporated. He discovered something that shook him to his core. He was exactly like his father. But here's where the story becomes truly remarkable. Because the boy had been practicing mindfulness, he was able to catch himself before the harsh words left his mouth. He had developed enough awareness to recognize what was happening inside him. The same pattern of blame that had hurt him so deeply was now rising in him, ready to hurt someone else. As he practiced mindful walking to calm himself, a profound understanding began to dawn. He wasn't fundamentally different from his father. The same energy of anger had been transmitted to him and was now living inside him, ready to be passed on to the next generation if he didn't learn to transform it. He began to see that his father wasn't a monster. His father had also been carrying inherited patterns, probably passed down from his own father and his father's father. This insight completely changed how the boy felt. Instead of seeing himself as a victim, he began to understand that both he and his father were victims of what Buddhism calls habit energy. Deeply ingrained patterns of reaction that get transmitted from generation to generation unless someone learns to transform them. His anger toward his father began to dissolve, replaced by a desire to break the cycle. Not through blame, but through understanding and practice. He realized that by responding differently, he could heal not only his own future but somehow reach back to heal the ancestors who had carried these same patterns. When that intention was born in his heart, his resentment melted away. It was replaced by a deep desire to go home and tell his father, "I have the same kind of energy in me that you do. And I want us to practice together so we can both be free." This young person, through one moment of clear seeing, had discovered the path to healing that extends in both directions, toward the future and toward the past. Finding home in exile. This story reveals something profound about how transformation actually works. The boy's breakthrough didn't come from fighting his inherited patterns. It came from the practice of mindful awareness. The ability to see clearly what was arising within him without being completely swept away by it. But how do we develop this capacity? The answer lies in understanding what Thich Nhat Hanh discovered during his own journey through suffering and exile. In 1966, the teacher was invited to lecture at Cornell University. He intended to stay in America for only 3 months. But those 3 months stretched into 38 years of exile. The government of South Vietnam revoked his citizenship and banned him from returning. During the first years, despite being an experienced teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh struggled with a profound sense of homelessness. He traveled from city to city, waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing where he was. Night after night, he dreamt of returning to his root temple in central Vietnam, climbing the familiar green hill. In the dream, he would make it halfway up the hill before waking to the harsh reality that he was still in exile. The dream repeated, his heart breaking a little more each time. But then something shifted. Through his practice of mindfulness and deep listening to his own experience, he began to understand that home isn't a place you go to. It's a way of being you can cultivate anywhere. Through breathing mindfully, walking with awareness, and bringing his complete attention to the present moment, he discovered what he called his true home, a state of peace and presence that couldn't be taken away by external circumstances. He developed a simple practice that became the foundation of his teaching. Breathing in, he would say to himself, "I have arrived." Breathing out, he would say, "I am home." Not, "I will arrive someday," or, "I will be home when I can return to Vietnam." But, "I have arrived right here, right now, in this moment. I am home in my own skin, in my own breath, in my own awareness." This wasn't denial. It was the recognition that beneath all the changing circumstances of life, there's a place of peace that can't be disturbed. It's what the Buddha called our true nature. Once Thich Nhat Hanh found this true home within himself, the dreams of climbing the hill in Vietnam stopped. He no longer suffered from his inability to return to his homeland. Even though he would have loved to be there, he had discovered something that could never be taken away: the capacity to be fully present and at peace wherever life took him. This discovery changed everything. He realized that most of our pain comes not from our circumstances, but from our relationship to those circumstances, our resistance to what is. When we learn to listen deeply to our experience without immediately trying to change it, we discover that even difficult emotions have something to teach us. The bell that calls you home. There's a sound that has the power to call you home to yourself. No matter how scattered your thoughts or how heavy your heart, it's as simple as a bell ringing. In Buddhist communities, the sound of a bell isn't just a signal. It's considered the voice of the Buddha from within, calling each person back to their true home in the present moment. This isn't about religion. It's about recognizing that within each of us lives a capacity for awakeness. The person who rings the bell first prepares themselves through mindful breathing, reciting a traditional gatha poem, body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May the hearers awaken from their forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. When you understand this preparation, you realize it's a model for how to approach any action in life with greater intention. Then, a half sound is offered, a gentle warning. When people hear it, conversations gently close. People stop and turn their attention inward, preparing to receive the full sound. As the bell rings fully, each person practices breathing mindfully and listening deeply. The traditional practice involves breathing in while silently saying, "Listen, listen," and breathing out while saying, "This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home." What is this true home? It's the state of being fully present, fully alive, fully aware of the miracle of this moment. The genius of this practice is that it trains your nervous system to associate certain sounds with coming home to peace. After practicing, many find they can use any sound, a church bell, a clock chime, even a phone ringing, as a reminder to pause and return to presence. This practice reveals that the most wonderful moment of your life is not in the future. You can make the present moment into the most wonderful moment of your life. Not by changing your circumstances, but by bringing your full awareness to what's already here. Your true home isn't a location, but a quality of being. It's available whether you're in a palace or a prison. It's the understanding that every moment is an arrival. Every breath is a homecoming. The peace you've been seeking has been patiently waiting for you to notice that it was never anywhere except here, in the simple miracle of your own aware presence.